Do you think hashtags look weird on posts? I do. But when they're used the way they're meant to be used, they can help all of our posts be seen by more of the right people. Today I'm going to share 3 things: how hashtags work, how you can save time organizing and writing your hashtags, and how to use them slightly differently on the different social media sites. Let's get started. Hey, I'm Brooke Miles, and welcome back to another video where I teach you how to create a small business social media program that's easy to run, that gets results, and that you can feel proud of. I am so excited because I have a special treat for you today. I was recently interviewed about hashtags on the Theory of Marketing Relativity podcast with Jess Burden of Epic Marketing, and what you're going to see today is the video version of that podcast. So if you like podcasts and just want to close your eyes and listen, go for it. And if you want visuals, they're here in the video to help enhance the entire experience. Either way, enjoy.
Thank you for joining me today, Brooke. I'm so glad that I could have you here to talk about hashtags.
Yes.
Let's talk about what they mean.
So anytime you put a hashtag in front of a word, you're signaling to the social media platform that you're writing your post in that this is almost like a keyword. Think of social media hashtags as like Google keywords, if you were to do like Google AdWords or something of that nature, because you want your posts to be found on numerous social media platforms, but not all. Hashtags are used as almost categories. So in other words, let's say you have the hashtag digital marketing at the end of a post or something of that nature. What will happen is there are lots of other posts out there that have a hashtag digital marketing. And if someone wants to see what are all the posts that have hashtag digital marketing, they can actually follow the hashtag or just click on the hashtag just to see what posts have come up. So now they're actually creating a user experience for themselves where they're actually seeing posts based on a certain category. So again, it really helps with discoverability, with just being found in searches when you use hashtags.
So let's talk about hashtag strategies.
What I do recommend is, as you develop the strategy, to kind of have like a storehouse of these, whether it is in a Microsoft Word document or you use a program like Text Expander where you write a little thing and all the text populates, text shortcuts that every phone has. You can actually put hashtags in there. So as you're creating this strategy, have your hashtags in one spot so you can easily pull them and you're not having to do hashtag word, hashtag word, hashtag word, hashtag word every single time you do a post, because that can get really, really cumbersome. For example, a lot of my posts are about social media. So I have social media marketing, hashtag social media marketing tips, et cetera, like a whole bunch of those that I found that I took 20 minutes out of my life to research. I don't really have to do it too much again. And then, and this is really important if you are, if you do if most of your marketing is local, have local hashtags. So for example, here in Delaware, my company's Delaware ShoutOut, I do a lot of local marketing. So I have related hashtags that I use, such as hashtag NetDE, Delagram, and also IG Delaware are popular on Instagram. And then I have one specifically for Wilmington, Delaware, and Newark, Delaware. Because what I also find is that, let's say I do a post that's about digital marketing. Well, I'm competing against digital marketing posts around, the world basically. But, if I also include, geographic hashtags, then at least I'll also be found by people locally. And some of those may be business owners. And then also another strategy you just want to think about too is how you're going to display the hashtags. In general, it's better to have the hashtags kind of at the very end of your post or with some line breaks at the end of the post. Or, you can also, like on Instagram, for example, put the hashtags in a comment. But you don't want, hashtags look like clutter. They look like a bunch of hiccups. They look messy. So you don't want them cluttering up the juicy content that you have in your main caption. You just want to kind of put separately, like human beings don't really necessarily need to see the hashtags. It's just that the social media site that you're using needs to see the hashtags so that they can categorize and hopefully, have that post show up in a search.
That is such a good point. Platforms are like the middleman. You have to market to the middleman to get to your end user. So let's chat about the different platforms because they're all very unique in how they use hashtags. So where would you like to start?
Let me start with Facebook. There are a lot of people putting hashtags in their Facebook posts. Sometimes I think it's because they're writing a post on Instagram and then sharing it directly to Facebook. The studies I keep on seeing, the majority of the studies I keep on seeing, say that the ideal number of hashtags on a Facebook post is 0. The thing is on Facebook, and you really want to think about the user experience, okay? why do people go on Facebook? They go on Facebook to see what their long lost, ex-boyfriend is doing. Not me, I don't do that, but I'm just saying, one could, okay? Or what their long lost cousin is doing. They're basically just checking out what people are doing, okay? They're not going on and saying, I wonder what's going on with hashtag digital marketing. People aren't doing that. So there isn't a reason for hashtags. And maybe down the road that will change and user behaviors will change. But right now, like Facebook is so social that, you just have to kind of respect that. However, I will say, let's say there is hashtag International Women's Day 2021. Okay. And I guess there's an International Women's Day 2021. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, if there's like a big event, that has a branded hashtag and you want to contribute to that, that is something that people might search for. Or, if you're part of an event, they're like, be sure to, write a post about this and use blah, blah, blah hashtag and you'll be entered into a draw, then obviously do the hashtag. I'm going to say this is going to sound so obnoxious and I don't mean it this way, but I feel like a lot of times people are putting hashtags in because they think it just looks cool. That's not why you put hashtags in. So it's uncool to put them in Facebook. Again, I know there are a couple studies out there that disagree with that, but for the most part, right now, no for Facebook. All right, so moving along. Next would be Twitter, and first of all, there is a 280 character limit on a tweet, but the sweet spot for Twitter is basically 2 hashtags from it, because people do searches on Twitter, based on hashtags, and because there is a character limit, that is definitely the one social media program that I use regularly. That I would say that hashtags are okay in the middle of the sentence, because if you're using the word, hashtag social media, and you say social media in the middle of the sentence, just put hashtag social media in the middle of the sentence. But more than 2 seems to be spammy. If you use fewer than 2, it may not be as effective. So if you can do 2, do 2 for Twitter. LinkedIn, 3 to 5. 3 to 5 is ideal, but you want to put it again at the end. I've done a lot of with the hashtag research I've done. I can usually think of like 3 good hashtags for a particular post. Oh gosh, I just did a LinkedIn post like a few minutes before this, and I forgot to put hashtags. I have to go back and put hashtags. Oh man, I was like, because I was in a rush. Okay. By the way, I need to interject here. If you want a more in-depth tutorial about hashtags on LinkedIn, I have a whole video about that, and I'll give you the link at the end. Back to our podcast. For Instagram, you can have up to 30 hashtags and as close to 30 as you can get. But I will tell you, you want to choose, popular hashtags, but you don't want them to be so popular that there's so much competition because everyone is using them. So I know I gave the example of hashtag social media, but that is used so much. But if it were like, social media marketing tips, fewer people are using that. So you might be tempted to just throw in any hashtag you can on Instagram to get up to the 30. And that's where you're probably most tempted just to use really generic ones. Or I've seen realtors use hashtag real estate. I'm like, okay, you're probably marketing locally here. So maybe it should be hashtag real estate Delaware or something of that nature. The key is you want to still be picky with your hashtags, even if you have a whole bunch of them that you can add there. And I will tell you, I am not a TikTok user, and there is a huge character limit to hashtags. Technically, there's no limit to hashtags, but you still have to stay within the character limit. So, but we're not really doing TikTok with our clients right now. So I'm really sticking more with the platforms that we're using most, for our business clients. Now that you know how to use hashtags in general on social media, definitely check out this video in the top right corner. It gives you an in-depth tutorial with tips and tricks about hashtags on LinkedIn. Thanks, and see you in the next video.